Hello and welcome to a special episode of Bodyslams and Dropkicks. We have an exclusive interview with possibly one of the best wrestlers in Canada. He has been known as Textbook. He's been known as Cyborg. He is the wrestling machine, Tyson Dux.
Yo, man. Thanks for that intro. I love it. You forgot Muay Thai Kid. Remember, I don't know if you remember this. This is history. I'm going to give you a history lesson. Started this career with LT Gray Jr. and Muay Thai Kid. We don't have to talk about it at all at any kind of length because it's so long ago. But yeah, man. Thanks for the intro. I'm happy to be here, hanging out with you.
We're happy to have you.
We're always happy.
I still remember. I still remember those days. You shaved your head, you shaved off your eyebrows. I still remember the super long blonde hair when you had the trunks with the star and the thunderbolt on it.
Yeah, man. I don't own, like, everybody makes fun of me because I buy so much gear now because I'm always changing my mind, and I sell all the other stuff. I always make a little bit of money and then sell and then get new gear. But lo and behold, those textbook tights, those the star and the lightning bolt that you're talking about, I still own those. I still have those, and I will keep them forever. Those are my favorite pair of trunks ever. Like, those are my first real pair of wrestling trunks, and I'll keep them forever.
That's awesome. I actually have a pretty sentimental moment that involves you. My dad was always like a busy working, a hardworking guy, but he actually took me to my first local match, which was Extreme Xmas when you won the BSC Suicide Six Pack title in a cage match.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's so, like, dude. Who was that against? Do you remember? You probably have more
It was
than I.
you, Extremo, Anthony Fiasco. He got injured earlier in the night.
Yes.
I want to say El Tornado, but I don't think he was in it. It was multiple men because it's always defended in like 6-man
Six.
action. And I
Yes.
remember you wrecking poor Fiasco, bloodying him up and everything,
Yes.
hitting like the brain buster, pinning him, and then you shoved the promoter and you took off out of the cage at top speed with the belt.
Yeah. That was we were trying to build reality based stuff. So that push thing was completely ad lib. That wasn't planned or anything like that. And he fell. Do you remember how he fell backwards? He fell backwards down the stairs and everything. I almost killed him. I almost killed him because the cage was low to get into the cage, and he hit the back of the cage, and then his ass fell down. He fell. Oh my god, it was. But like, we were trying to build legitimacy behind it, and the only way I could do it is by making a young kid. He doesn't wrestle anymore, but his name was Fiasco. That you were talking about, Anthony Fiasco, making him bleed buckets, and he did. He bled a lot, and then I remember just shoving the promoter down the stairs. Yeah, that was a good night for me. That was a good night. Let me tell you.
It was a pretty epic match. I still remember Extremo had the crawl at the top of the cage because the low ceiling to leap off onto you guys.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Great memory. But isn't that the case? Is like when you get into situations where your first experience, or the one that is the most memorable. Like, you're talking about your dad being busy all the time, working all the time, and when he finally got to take you, that's a real special moment. And that's what professional wrestling should be for a lot of people. One of my moments is before I started wrestling school. My dad hated wrestling, like absolutely hated it. He was a busy, hardworking business guy, farmer, business guy, truck driver, did it everything, right? Always busy, and that's why I'm so busy. And I remember my dad took me down to see Killer Kowalski because that was the first school I was going to go to. So I just graduated high school, and he took me to see Killer Kowalski because I was going to live there in Massachusetts and work under him or teach under or learn under him. And then my dad took me to WCW, a house show where I got to watch Regal and Benoit wrestle a house show match. And I knew right then, I knew that I wanted to be a wrestler anyways, but I knew that I wasn't going to stop. I knew that at that point, that this is my calling. This is what I'm going to do, no matter what. Yeah, crazy, eh?
It is pretty crazy. I think I should ask the first question. How are you doing today? I feel like I should have started with that.
Brother,
It's all right, mate.
we are good. We're rolling, brother. We good. Like, everything's good. Like, I'm very busy. This got pushed back. I thank you guys for your patience and dealing with
No
me and
worries.
stuff like that. But you know how things go. Like, when you're small babies, I got small kids in the home, and
Yeah.
doctor's appointments and all that stuff, and they just go a little bit longer. But anyways, it's great. It's honestly great to be here. Thank you very much.
And thank
You're
you very much
welcome.
for joining
We
us.
love having you. What made you want to be a professional wrestler?
Always wanted to be a professional wrestler. Remember, if you're looking at the grand scheme of things when it comes to age, my age, I am 42 now, so I was born in 78. So I am a child. I always say this, I'm a kid of the 80s. And being a kid of the 80s means you're born in the decade of awesome. And like everybody can say that. It's very subjective. Everybody can say that their decade is the best or whatever. But seriously, we had Van Damme, we had Sly Stallone, we had Arnold Schwarzenegger, we had Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Ricky Steamboat. We had the plethora of masculinity, like Thundercats, He-Man, Transformers, GI Joe, everything that was based around my childhood is all about a boy turning into a man and turning into an action figure. And it was just it just went hand in hand. Like I can't be a transformer, I can't be a robot, I can't be a Thundercat, I can't walk around all day with a sword, even though I wish I could. But one thing I can do is I can be a professional wrestler, and I always did. Always, ever since I was a little guy and found out what wrestling was, it's always what I wanted to do.
You guys definitely had the best era. Like I'd say wrestling was like at its peak at that point. And I think it technically in a way you are a transformer. You've gone from LT Gray Jr., the Muay Thai kid, up to becoming Tyson Dukes to where you are now. So in a way, like I think wrestlers are the like human version of Transformers because they're constantly evolving, whether it's in ring or as a character.
Yeah, what a great segue, man. Beautiful. Like, yes, it is very true. We are, if you don't evolve, you die, and that's the thing. You've always Regal told me that one time when we were at like one of the tapings. He said, like, in this business, you can't be stuck in one form. You can't just be one person your whole career. You're going to have to evolve, either be a heel, be a face, different character, different style, whatever the case may be. That you can't live in the same realm. You can't live in the same bubble all the time. So you're always constantly evolving, and that's what wrestlers should do, without jeopardizing. Now I say that now, but I also mean you have to not jeopardize um, wrestling itself, like without putting a damage, a hurt on professional wrestling for what it is. Yeah.
What advice would you give to young wrestlers who are currently struggling, feeling like their career isn't taking off the way they want it to?
So my philosophy is always going to be the same, and it comes down to working harder. So if you think that you need something or you want something out of this thing, um, I'm going to tell you, if you're young in this generation, I will tell you right now, nobody owes you anything. Nobody in life owes you anything. So if you want something, work harder. And if you think that you're working hard enough, you're not, because you have time to think about it and time to think if you're working harder when you should be working. I come from the philosophy. My father was a very hard working man, and he never stopped. He never stopped until he got very sick with cancer, and he was still in a truck. They grabbed him out of the woods in a truck and brought him down and brought him to the hospital. And yeah, it was one of those rough moments in life. But that's my old man. He wouldn't stop for anything. And so, what makes anybody think that anybody owes you anything? Nobody owes you anything in this life unless you go out and you aspire and you grab it. You grab it yourself. So I feel any kid that wants to start in this business, get money. So work harder, make money, because money means freedom. Get yourself a car, start driving. If you're one of these young kids, you don't have your own car, you don't have a license, you don't have any money for gas for this car, you don't have money to get yourself proper equipment like wrestling boots, knee pads, tights, where it's all readily available, then you're missing the point. You're missing what you should be doing. So work harder, man. That's all I gotta say. Simplicity right there.
That's awesome advice right there. Also, I was wondering, how did you get approached to be on Dark Side of the Ring? Because if some people don't know, you actually, between the segments, were in the ring being Benoit.
Yes. Dark Side of the Ring, I am in 2 episodes, three, technically three. So Benoit one played for two episodes, and I'm in the very first pilot episode. I'm in the pilot episode of Dark Side of the Ring. So the Bruiser Brody episode, I'm in there as Dutch Mantel. So that's the first year that they started with their pilot episode. I was approached by Evan, who's their producer, really good dude. He told me about this project they were having. He saw me at a wrestling show in Toronto, a super kick show, which is a crazy, crazy bar show. He saw me. I kind of stand out because I'm an old school cat. Everybody else is doing crazy stuff, and I stick to hammerlocks. Anyways, he saw me. He's like, "Oh, okay, that guy would work." So I got casted through that to play the role of Dutch. Once I got the role of Dutch, they saw how I can work in ring, and then they saw my style when they came to more shows and knew who I was and what I was all about. Knew that I was a Benoit fan, but I had the same kind of stature. My build is very much like Benoit. I used to mimic a little bit of his movements when I was younger to be like Benoit because he's my guy, and so it all came ahead. So then I became Chris Benoit for that episode as well.
That's awesome. Would you ever go back if you got offered another chance?
Listen, season 3, they're so popular because it's not just a wrestling show. It's actually great. It's great TV. Like it's really well done. If you're not a wrestling fan and you watch this show, you at least the characters make you intrigued. So I did season 1. I've done season 2. They offered me a role, but I was on tour of season 1 where I was supposed to play Kerry Von Erich. I couldn't do it. Of course, they did this Benoit episode, and they got picked up for season 3. And I'm just wait. I'm chomping. I'm chomping at the bit, waiting to see what I get for season 3. I'm looking forward to it because there's so many different roles. There's so many stories, and whatever I can do to fit it in, they're just going to paint these tattoos up, and we're going to work.
Awesome. I remember I was hyped to watch the episode when I heard you were in it. It had like Benoit and had Tyson Dukes, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna watch this. And I was trying to figure out where you were as stuff was going on.
Yeah, it was. They really do a great job. The shadow stuff that they do it's so well produced. It's so well done, and the director, Jason, is such a good dude, and he really knows his business. He's works for Netflix. He's worked everywhere. The guy is like just money, and so their concept is wonderful, and the way they shoot it is wonderful, and so it just makes you like they tell me what they want me to do. I'm not a trained actor. I'm just a professional wrestler, and they just tell me what they want and I give them the best I can, and then we just do as many takes as it takes to get it done. And it's been fun. It's been a great experience, man. I've like this is my I'm look just like I said, just looking forward to what's next in season 3.
Awesome. Now you had a big title match not too long ago against Nick Aldis for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, and I remember the promo you cut. You were hyped and the intensity. You were like all over the ring trying to get this match, and it finally happened. I just wish it was more than just live. That they could have put it on YouTube or some. Was it everything you hoped to be? And was the NWA World Title always in goal?
So NWA has always been a goal of mine because I am an NWA guy. I love that style. I love pro wrestling, the way wrestling's done, like wrestling. So, however, I was scheduled to wrestle, but then COVID happened, so that match got canceled. So we never ever got to lock horns. We never got to wrestle yet. So that was supposed to be in May. Of course, everything's canceled. It was for a company FLQ in Montreal. I worked for their promotion a lot. That I was told by the promoter to get ready. They wanted to. They had all this stuff, and they were very pumped about it. And so I had a whole car ride, and I mean, like a car ride from my place to Montreal is 10 hours. So I had 10 hours to figure out what I wanted to do. It was an easy match because it was an easy night for me because I got to work with Josh Briggs. Josh Briggs is a great talent, easy to work with, easy to wrestle. And so at the end of this match, the promo just came from straight from my soul, right from the the bottom of my bowel. It came right up, rumbling up. And so I feel as though it was a great promo and everything went really well. But just timing, man, COVID really did a number. However, it once we get back to rolling and feeling good and stuff like that, that match will go down. So you have not technically missed this match. We have not yet seen the light of day, and it definitely will be one of those ones that won't just be live. It'll be something they'll either do online or it'll be for NWA or something like that. I'm hoping at least for NWA. and management has kind of shuffled around in NWA. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to working with those guys, and especially working with Aldis, who is like the rising phoenix of that company, taking a company from the ashes of nothing and putting it back up. And like everybody knows what NWA is again, which is great.
You have no idea how happy I'll be if you pick up the win against Nick Aldis for the belt.
And I will be gutted because he is my countryman, and I am
Oh,
English,
see?
so I will. So I do like you, mate, but I will be rooting for the oldest. I have to.
Canadian
You know what?
always.
It's totally awesome that like, because Aldis is such a like, it like doesn't get enough. Like, even though he's getting his due, I don't think there's enough of a due. I think that man deserves a little bit more praise, a little bit more for all that he's done for that company. And people should really realize. And this is not me tooting his horn. It's me just being real. You know, like Hiroshi Tanahashi saved New Japan. Nobody can tell me any different. He brought that company from the rubbles of nothing and made it the one of the leading promotions in the world. And so Aldis is like slowly doing that in North America with this NWA power, this NWA under Billy. It's quite awesome. And he's a good dude. And so I'm not one of those guys that's a super fan of belts. I'm not a belt guy. I'm a wrestling guy. But man, you're right on that. Just to grab that belt, put that belt around my waist, that NWA title, that's got some sweet history.
You know, in a way, you're kind of the Tanahashi of Smash Wrestling, because I was watching one of your interviews where you kicked off one of the first matches against, I'm going to butcher his name guaranteed, Oshaya, and he kicked you right in the face, and you were talking about how, like, your teeth got all loose and everything, and he was supposed to kick you in the chest. So I feel like, in a way, you guys kicked off that style, and where Smash is today, where big names came in, like Styles, Chris Hero, you guys pretty much started that.
Well, you know what? Me and O'Shea really, we had a nice feud there. It was a great feud. We did a lot of stuff, but that first match that you see is actually not the part that made put that company really out there. The part that really put that company out there was Kevin Owens, who's a buddy of mine. His back was injured, and it was supposed to be him versus Gargano. So that was the big thing: ROH versus Dragon Gate, and the two champs of either company back in the day, and that was a big deal. Kevin Owens, back wasn't good. He wasn't 100%. And I came up with the idea of like, me and O'Shea will go out there and kick the ever living bejesus out of each other, and then we'll come back, and then we'll come out for this match together. Like I don't mind, because Kev's a buddy of mine. I said me and you will tag, and Gargano and O'Shea will tag it up. And so we had this brawl around the ring, led into the ring style main event match where it was mostly on the fly. We kept it very light. Everything was just as we saw it. And like, I think it was that moment there that Smash really stood out as not just being the regular wrestling company, because it was two guys that had just worked, that were with this company, and two outside guys that had pretty big names, or getting big names, getting in there and tying it up. And we like beat the crap out of each other. One fan got injured by a trash can, probably the best night of his life. And it was great. It was like one of those, those moments where you have an electric moment. It's one of those moments. And it was great time.
Now, you've wrestled some of the big names, like you've battled Shinsuke Nakamura, I think it was during the Border City NJPW war. You've taken on Team 3D. You've taken on Gargano, Kevin Owens, aka Kevin Steen, pretty much every big name, Drew Gulak. Is there anyone else you've always wanted to wrestle, but you haven't really gotten to work with so far?
You know what? I did this on another interview. They were asking me who I wanted to wrestle, because I've wrestled Seth Rollins, I've wrestled Ciampa, I've wrestled all these household names that everybody knows now. And they're always they're always asking me who do you see that's that you wanna wrestle. And I like, in the past I was not arrogant, but I feel as though, like, if you're coming to Canada, or if you want to wrestle, I'll wrestle anybody. Like, because I'm a wrestler's wrestler. I'm a wrestler that, like, people come to wrestle me. I don't go to wrestle them; they come to get me.
Yeah.
But like as I get older, there's a few guys that I really, really enjoy. I've said that this before. Jay Lethal, I've wrestled him in 6-mans. I've done triple threats. We've always had good chemistry, and I want Jay Lethal one-on-one. And that also another ROH guy is that I want to wrestle is Roosh. So Roosh from ROH as well. I like that brawling style. I'm a huge Pero Aguero Jr. fan, and he has got the same kind of style as brawly and very, very slick moving. And I want that guy. I want to wrestle that guy. I think that guy is on my list as well. And there's a few others. Aldis has always been on my list because Aldis is one of those guys that is a main event guy. And he holds himself professionally as a main event guy, and I would like to wrestle him. There's a few more that are out there that I've never really tied it up with. They escape my mind. There's like 4 or 5 guys that are still on that list that I kind of like. Gresham's one of the. I wrestled Gresham a bunch, so that's not really a fair case. But there's guys out there that I'm still looking forward to tying it up with. I got a lot of years left, so I don't feel like slowing down ever until they put me in the grave, or I don't give anything, or I can't contribute to this business in a positive manner. So, like, if I'm at honky tonk level, you know how the honky tonk man is now. I don't want to be insulting to the man, but I'm not. If I'm at a honky tonk level, how he works now, I don't want to do this anymore. But until I'm at that level, I'm just going to keep slugging away.
All right, am I all right just to interject here, Fraser? Because I actually have got an interesting question for him.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just prepping for my next one. So.
All right, you go and do that. All right, you said about who you would wrestle. Who wouldn't you wrestle?
Who wouldn't I wrestle? Oh.
Yeah. This is what I usually do. He's the nicer one. I come up with the hard ones.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one because there's not many cases where I would say no to any kind of situation when it comes to wrestling. You know what? I would generalize it. There's been a few guys that I've wrestled and they've done a wrestling match because I'm like I said, like I'm NWA type guy. Yeah. I'm a huge Luthez guy. Like I want to be known as the like modern day Luthez. I'm like with the lack of balance of professional wrestling now, I want to scale this stuff back. I like even if they're going over the line and being silly and like stupid spots and weird costumes and weird characters that make no sense and doesn't put any real fight logic into it, the more I seem to be pulling the other way. So. Yeah. Staying in the center, being like Johnny Valentine, don't throw me off the ropes. That's silly. Staying in the center, working for holds, working for reversals and all that stuff. I want wrestling to be the way wrestling used to be. That being said, there's guys wrestled in the past, and like I said, that will wrestle my style. Like Matt Trey came wrestle me, my style, the way I wrestle. Like he's awesome, right? He's a good dude. He's a great dude that's willing to work. But I'm not going to get in there with guys that like to do the hardcore nonsense style of like there or sit there and let you hit me over the head with light tubes. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sit there while you construct this elaborate or table spot or stack these chairs up because that's playtime, and that's like you're playing with Legos and like props and trampolines and stuff like that. And I take my business very, very seriously. And I like, so those guys, like, I'm not, all the power to them. If you want to do that and you're making money and you're making your living and you're okay with scarring your body up and all that stuff, go for it. Like that's your business. That's your power. But for me, my perspective, I'm not going down that route of hardcore nonsense. So, who is it? Like I don't even know. Schlack. Schlack's a big name in the hardcore scene. I'm never going to wrestle Schlack. We're never ever going to have a match, and I don't think anybody would want to see it anyways, because the contrast in styles. But like any of those guys that do that hardcore stuff, unless they're able to meet me at my style, like a Brandon Kirk from CZW, he's a young kid that can step outside the nonsense role and meet me to my style. Another one. I don't think Brian Cage. Brian Cage is a giant human being that does more high fly stuff. Like I don't
Yeah.
know where I would offer any. He's not like a hardcore wrestler, but like I don't know where I could go with such a dynamic. Like you're really big, but yet you want to flip a lot. You can't. Like I can't. How am I supposed to work with that? You know, where I work with the realm of reality and seeing such a like a dude like that should be a goddamn main event star anywhere in the world, right? But like
Mhm.
just doing the flips and all that stuff is not just I don't know. Take it from I'm just an old guy with a with an old school mentality. So I'm just like I said, pulling it back the reins, man. I want to be wrestling to be wrestling again.
Yep. Fair enough. Can't really argue with that answer. So, what else have we got for him, Phrase?
Now, you're quite an accomplished tag team wrestler. You've tagged with Brent Bangs, El Tornado, Jack Damage. Uh, Now, a lot of people view tag team in this strange light when wrestlers start chasing the big belts. That like tag team is treated as a way of demotion. But you had this really good tweet you did about tag team being like a brotherhood and showing concern for your partner. Do you feel tag team gets a bad rap?
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Like we're looking at one of the greatest tag teams with the two most talented human beings in the world right now, being FTR.
Mm.
The great like don't like nobody can argue with the point that they're the best tag team on the planet right now. Nobody can like if they put out a tweet about some other tag team, that tag team is going to get instant rub from it. And then everybody is always tuning into AEW, even if they're not fans of the style or how they project everything. When an FTR match comes on, I guarantee the ratings go up because people want to see how they're going to react or work within the realms of that style. And people want to see what they're all about all the time because those dudes are no joke. They're legit dudes. Like try to like they're brothers. They are straight up brothers. So if you're in a bar fight, those two would be back to back the whole time. They're that, and that's how you should be. And unfortunately, tag wrestling's got like it was so great in the 80s. We're bringing it right back to the 80s.
We
80s
are.
wrestling had the best tag teams of life. Am I not right? Like Bulldogs, Heart Foundation,
Mhm.
Rougeos, Bushwhackers,
Oh
like the
God, the
list
Bushwhackers.
Islanders. The list goes on and on. I can sit here. Strike Force. Look, I can go
Natural
on forever.
disasters.
The
Natural disaster.
Rockers.
Legion
Legion of
of
Doom.
Doom.
Oh
Right.
yeah. Oh
The
yeah.
Horsemen.
Yep. I was just about to say. Obviously, we send our condolences to Animo's family over his recent passing.
Of course, yeah, too
Yep.
young, way too young.
Yep.
Pac was way too young, but like that's the Viking mentality. Those guys lived
Yeah.
hard. They lived a hard life. So I'm sure that his life at 60 is like most people's lives at 130. Right? That's
Mm.
kind of life he led. So I take peace in knowing that he lived like that.
Yeah.
However, like we're talking tag team wrestling was the greatest stuff ever in the 80s. I love tag team wrestling. Demolition was so awesome.
Yeah.
Rockers were awesome. Everybody was great. So, unfortunately, in this day and age, everybody says that Vince doesn't like tag teams. Obviously, you can see a little bit of it when you watch WWE. And AEW has the greatest tag team in the world, but they don't have many other counterparts that are as fluid and as solid.
Mm.
So then you can see where they're working and pulling people around, and it's not a slight on anybody else. It's just they're like a smooth moving operation. They're brilliant. So hopefully, hopefully with FTR being as great and other guys getting accolades. I know Impact has the North. The North is a good tag team. I know, like, there's other tag teams out there. There's lots of great tag teams. I know when Lethal and Gresham like tag together, that's brilliant stuff as well. So I'm hoping that through a couple more years, because they're going to ride this FTR wave, I hope that things get better.
Now you've been in the World X Cup twice. 2006, you were part of Team Canada. 2008, you were the Canadian representative on Team International. If you had the opportunity to go back and put your own team together, who would be your team, whether it's a Team Canada or another Team International?
I would do like more of a grappling team. If I had my way, it would be a grappling team. So um, my guys would be if I had the opportunity to have them, I'm like going to take a guy from Winnipeg named Tyler Colton. Tyler Colton's not going to be the grappler, but he's like my anvil, Jim Neidhart. He's like if nobody knows who Tyler Colton is, check him out because he's a strong man. He's a legit winning like strongman, like at an amateur level. I think it's amateur level, but like he's brilliant. Like and like I'm looking forward to this COVID thing being over so that we could do some tag work together. Another guy I'm going to take Gresham with me. I've mentioned Gresham a bunch of times, but I'm on a Gresham roll lately. I feel that John needs a little bit more. One of the most talented human beings when it comes to grappling and being slicker than me. And I feel I could be really slick with movements and stuff like that, and he'll outdo me every time. Just absolutely a brilliant human being in that ring. And I just talked about him today. So let's put him. So my team would be, I guess it wouldn't be a grappling team at all because it would only be me and Gresham. I'm going to put me. Tyler Colton is my jacked up dude. I'm putting Gresham in there because I love his style. I love that he can give even more slick stuff than I can. I'm going to put Mike Bailey in there because Mike Bailey is one of those guys that will kick your face off and just legitimate tough. Like any guy, if you're a dude and you walk to the ring in bare feet, you're a tough guy. You know what I mean? This bar none. Enough said, kind of deal. So that's my team.
That's awesome.
That's
That'd be an epic team.
That's a dirty team.
What have been some of your favorite career highlights? Because you can't look anywhere in wrestling when it comes to Canada. There hasn't been a belt you haven't held, a tournament you haven't won.
You know what? I've done a lot, and it takes a lot of jogging of the memory because I'm always ahead, so I'm always figure out what's next. I don't really think about what happened in the past. I always like, what's left to do? What's left to accomplish? So I don't really think about what happened yesterday, right? But like with COVID and with everybody at home and everybody like doing a few podcasts, people have always jogged my brain a bit. And like the Super 8, even though it was kind of disappointing that I missed the year I was supposed to do it, and the next year wasn't a great showing because of my knee being wonky. So Super 8 was a big accomplishment for me. Being a skinny kid in WWE was always been a big thing. Being called back and doing Cruiserweight Classic was a real big deal for me. Being a part of ROH has always been one of my highlights. I loved being part of ROH. Getting to wrestle Masato Tanaka, who had reformed and changed himself, because that's like the amount of work he put in from being a hardcore wrestler to one of the best Japanese pro wrestlers and building a name out of a small company like 01. That's another one. The list goes on and on and on and on. I constantly think about like the list would be like I could talk for days on it. What I want to do though, my achieving goal. So I've achieved a lot, but going further, I don't know if this is a segue into another one that you had, but I would like to, like I said, bring wrestling back to a more grappling base and be known for being a serious wrestler, almost like Timothy Thatcher, how Timothy Thatcher is, maybe a little bit more off the ropes. Thatcher kind of stays in the center way more than I would like to a little bit, but very much that style, very WXW, very, very gritty. And I want people to know that when they wrestle me, they're going to get serious pro wrestling every single time. And either they're going to cower at this idea or hate the idea of being in there with me, or they're going to love the opportunity. So that's what I'm aspiring to do with the time I have left. Put wrestling back, because I love wrestling more than I love myself. And I've said that a million times. I love wrestling more than I love me. I don't understand why it is the way it is. I don't want to be handcuffed to wrestling the way I am, but I am. So I'm going to continue with this pace.
Is it now? I know one of your sons is a professional wrestler. Is it almost nostalgic seeing him starting out the way you did and seeing him making similar mistakes that you made early on?
He's really smart and he doesn't make the mistakes that I did. I like my career. I started at ground zero with no understanding, had to learn along the way and get beat up and have people teach me. Whereas he has me, and he is more seasoned than most guys because his level of expertise is a lifetime. My son has always watched wrestling. My son has always been around wrestling. And we're doing it again because my little guy is 3. He just goes to school now. He's a huge fan of wrestling. He watches Bret Hart all the time. So Ethan is just like he doesn't make the same mistakes I do. When I start out, he's brilliant, and he will be brilliant. And like, if this is what he's starting out with his mentality and how he is, he's going to blow your mind in a couple of years.
What has been the one key piece of advice you've given your sons when they've started doing wrestling?
Well, with Ethan, it's always been here's the deal with Ethan. Ethan has been in this, like I said, been a part of this business since he was in diapers. So he knows wrestling more so than a lot of guys. And the problem is, this is tricky. This is tricky to tell him, and this is tricky for him to digest.
Yeah.
Is he does stuff like he'll have a match and he'll do stuff that someone asks him to do. And then I'll ask him, why did you do that? Why would you go out there and do that move? Or why would you let him do that to you? Or why would he not bump off of that? And he said, well, the guy's been wrestling for 2 years or 3 years, and I've only been at this for a year. I said, that doesn't matter. You know better. So it's a case of knowing, but then being too humble and too like, he gives into the code of honor of being that guy has a couple more years, and he doesn't realize that he has been in this business his whole entire life, so that it takes precedent over this guy that maybe has fumbled around in wrestling for 3 years. He's more experienced. So for him to realize his level of expertise in this is higher than the guy that might have 3, 4, or 5 years in the business already. Yeah. So it's one of those things of, I want him to be humble, but I also want him to put wrestling first and not stupid ideas, basically.
Now you've done wrestling camps. I've actually attended one the night after you won at ROH, as we were talking about earlier, where you teamed up with Tyler Black, I think it was Mark Briscoe, Roddy Strong, and you guys took on, I think it was Kenny King, Ref Titus, Austin Aries, and Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce still the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. I still remember I was watching the entrance ramp, and you guys swarmed out of the audience and all hit the ring and just started like taking it to them. How did that opportunity come around? Because I know you said before they wanted you to work with Eddie Edwards and stuff. So how did this come along with ROH?
This came along with border issues. So I think it was Jay had border issues. A few guys had border issues and couldn't cross the border for this show in Toronto, or like Mississauga, just outside Toronto for anybody listening. So what happened is, as they were crossing the border, some of them got flagged and got sent home, Jay being one of them. So when they got to the place, obviously I was in a feud with Eddie Edwards. It was under the regime of Pearce. Pearce was actually wanting me to sign with them and wanted to bring me in full time. And so at the time, me and Pearce was there, and then all the card got messed up. The whole card was messed up because we wrestled the night before in Detroit. I wrestled Kenny King, easy match, nice and easy, good stuff. And then everybody crossing the border, guys didn't get across. So his whole card is messed up. Like, we're talking, this stuff's all taped on internet and all that stuff. Whatever they were doing with it, it had to run the same kind of lineage. So all their booking got messed up. So Adam Pearce wasn't supposed to wrestle because he's the booker and the producer on the show. So Adam puts on the singlet, he puts this team together. He counts the guys that he has left, and he throws us all in this 8-man tag. And I just remember it was the easiest setup ever, because these guys are great. Like, we're talking about youngsters. We're all youngsters. And like, we just know how to call, know each other, know how to put this together. And we just turned that into chaos. We turned that 8-man tag into actual chaos. And it was one of those highlights. I remember laughing at Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce told me that when everybody goes to the floor, we're all brawling, and then we start singling in. It was one shot and then out. So it was one of those gunshot things where you just take out the next guy, right, with a finishing move of some sort. And Pierce says, "I'll give you a clothesline." I said, "Oh, okay." And I was thinking in my head, that clothesline? Really? That's it? That's all you're going to do is a clothesline? Adam Pierce takes me, even if I stood as strong as I could with a proper front stance, took me ass over tea kettle. He hit me so hard. And all I can remember as I bump and I roll over to my stomach, hit me with such velocity. I'm like, thank God that was my finishing move that I could just roll out and be done for the day. Because if it wasn't, I don't know what I'd do, because he knocked me for a loop. Like, I mean, he took me. And so it was basically, it was on the fly. The wrestling was on the fly, as well as the booking, because they didn't have the guys there that were ready to go. And so we just made the most of it. And then a lot of people at the end of that match thought that I was definitely a shoo-in to be signed at the moment because of that whole reason. Like, oh, why are they using Tyson in the middle of this with all these main event players in ROH? And the reason was I was supposed to be there.
Because so far out of the local guys, I've seen you in Ring of Honor. I've seen Ashley Six, and it's always really awesome seeing some of our guys step in there and show like we can hang with the best of them.
Yeah, you know what? And isn't that what wrestling is? Like, a lot of people don't give a lot of the credit that is due. So if you go to your independent show and you see a guy and you think he's good, sometimes they are good, sometimes they're not. But like, the only way you could tell is if you get them in the ring with with somebody that you think is at an elite level, and see how they hang and see how they go. And then you'll know right away who the guys are. And you should give respect to some of these guys that are on the, like Brent Banks and the Terriks and stuff like that will hang and bang with anybody on the Ontario scene. And that's the same anywhere you go, any promotion in the world. There's guys. They're awesome dudes. And then there's garbage. They get hype. It's just the way it is. It's one side or the other, you know?
Now, I read this funny tweet that you tweeted at Lance Storm, how you guys are the best Tim Hortons jockeys, and you guys had a rough trip and were so excited when you came around to Tim Hortons. Any chance you could tell us that story?
So for those at home, Nunavut, if you look on a globe, Nunavut is basically as far north as you possibly can, getting close to the North Pole. So we were up in the native, like where there were Inuit people up there.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's north. It's like very north. Polar bears, penguins, all that, or not penguins, but polar bears, all that stuff's up there. And so they live on the tundra. So everything's up on stilts. There's no basements, none of that stuff. And there's all these lines of houses because there's communities up there. There's still city, community, all this stuff. They have hospitals, arenas, all this stuff. But like, you don't have McDonald's, you don't have Burger King. You can't just, not a variety of stuff. And then you wouldn't want it anyways, because groceries there, I remember like a bag of chips would cost like $10. Like, it's expensive because you have to travel it so far up north. So we go up there and there's no Tim Hortons, and there's a Hotel Coffee, which was not good. And I remember someone said, "Oh yeah, there's a Tim Hortons here." And me and Lance went on this tirade. We went looking in the frozen tundra of the north, looking for a place to get Tim Hortons, and we found it at the grocery store. So on the grocery store, where you might have a laundromat, instead of a laundromat, they had a little convenience store thing, and the Tim Hortons was like one of those things. The coffee shop was in the grocery store. And I just remember, like, me and Lance were like, "Oh my God, there's the sign, there it is." So we ordered Tim Hortons, but like there, they don't have Tim Hortons employees. So all you do is buy it from the grocery store and fill up your coffee, and then you get to push the buttons to make your cream and sugar dispensers work. So I got to be a Tim Hortons employee for a day. Greatest honor of my life, if you're a Tim Hortons fan. So yeah, me and Lance both get to jockey the coffee for a day or two, and it was just a wonderful experience.
If you guys get a tag team, that's gotta be your name.
Right?
they missed out on free promotion on that case.
Right? I remember going to when I first went to Japan, finding a coffee shop that I liked because I like coffee a lot. Like I'm a coffee guy, and so I went to a lot of different places, convenience stores, 7-Eleven, all that stuff, and just choke down whatever they have. But then I found this place called Tully's Coffee. Tully's Coffee in Japan saved my life because there's nothing worse than a guy flying for 13 hours, landing and not having a coffee for like a day and a half. Like the withdrawal symptoms were insane. But once I found that Tully's Coffee, man, it was a happy day. Let me tell you.
That's awesome. So the first time I saw you, my brother was a big fan of Kenny versus Spenny, and he knew I liked wrestling, and he showed me the episode you're on, and I'll never forget. You're talking about Spenny's training, and he's like, but every time he hits Spenny, he goes, "Ah, my back," and it's just stuck with me ever since you said it that way. And you still get to take on Spenny at times. Do you feel that fun opportunity just brought so much more for you to do in wrestling?
You know what? Not one. It was such a great moment, and I love it for the fact that a lot of the next generation, so not this generation, the one before this generation, that were into like yourself, that were into Kenny versus Spenny. That was your time, your kind of TV, your brother's TV. I feel as though like it for what it was. People knew who I was because of wrestling, but then I got more people, more traffic because it was a different niche. It was the acting, the college guy humor kind of niche being this Kenny versus Spenny, this silly show. But anytime that me and Kenny or me and Spenny get together now, it is actually a Spenny thing. Spenny wants it. Spenny loves wrestling. So any way that Spenny could get a little bit more from wrestling that he couldn't get from that, because it hit him. He got the bug. For me, I did the one episode of Kenny versus Spenny, and I'm good. I can move on. I'm a wrestler. I like to wrestle. I want to do other things. I want to be able to wrestle and do matches and put on good matches. For Spenny, it was more than that. It was like something that he wanted. He loves wrestling. So he got to wrestle, and now he wants to go on and like do more of it in a way where he can. So it's any other time you see Spenny doing the wrestling thing, it's me doing a favor for Spenny, not the other way around. Yeah, I do it so that he could, kind of live his dream a bit. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do the little banter on Twitter and stuff like that for him. It's for him that I do it.
Now, you've started your own wrestling school.
Yep.
Has that been an enriching opportunity? Like you get to pass on all the knowledge you have learned, not just to your son, but to several wrestlers who will either repave Canadian wrestling or help take it to that next level. Would you say that's the most rewarding part of your career? Or
Um, I have a definite philosophy when it comes to pro wrestling, as many guys do. They have their own style, their own unique way of doing things. I'm not about the quick fix. I'm not about the quick attention. I'm about hard work and making sure it counts. So if hard work takes you 5 years to get noticed, opposed to being quick and viral, I'm about that because the length of your career and the more work you put into your career is way better at 5 years than it is at the shotgun finish that you had or the shotgun thing that you had, the moment. So I'm all about getting that in. I'm all about making this philosophy work, and it's about hard work. And I've been doing this a long, long time. So I've only started my own wrestling school in the last couple of years, but I used to work for Can-Am Wrestling that is run by Scott Demore, who is a part of Impact Wrestling, and I worked for him for 10 years and really got to know my business even more so through him and through working and through teaching, really perfecting the craft that I do. And it's only through working there as long as I did and under him and getting his tutelage that I am confident in my abilities as a pro wrestler to make the greatest professional wrestlers. And I still stand by that. And I will to my dying day. Like I will make real pro wrestlers, not goofy cosplay wrestlers that just want to jump off of stuff. I'm all about real pro wrestling.
That's an awesome view because I feel like in a way, wrestling kind of gets lost depending on the territory you're in because there's the different styles. People bring more of the entertainment of just characters, like you said, the goofy costumes, and kind of don't focus on the wrestling. So sometimes guys who will talk better will get to move forward over guys who are much better on the canvas, on the ropes, and everything. And do you feel like you need to be the whole package in order to be like all you can be as a pro wrestler?
Most definitely. I don't like weak links in the chain. If there's something that's off, then work on it. So if your promos suck, let's make your promos better or at least decent. If your body sucks, start working out. If your gear sucks, you got to get new stuff. That's If your wrestling sucks, let's fix it. If something doesn't seem to jive real well, let's make it happen. I'm about that style. So like everything that like to be a 5-star player in this business, I'm all about that. I'm all about um, promos and about work and about look and like the way you conduct yourself on the road and stuff like that. I'm about all of that. I'm less about the nonsense and the dribble that has plagued our industry as of late.
When you're on the road, what do you say is the hardest thing for wrestlers?
On the road, just diet. That's the hardest thing. I don't like. It's my job. It's what I do. So being on the road is a part of my job. So missing my kids is just a
Yeah.
part of the job. It's not like but it's something that I chose to have children, but I've also chose this lifestyle. I chose to be a professional wrestler. So my life is hard. It's hard being on the road. So I don't try to look at those areas. I don't try to be dramatic about that kind of stuff. The things that really the hardest things are basically the things that are in your control, but is also very hard to do. So like diet is one of those things where it's you can only pack for a day or two, and then it becomes a bit of a struggle um, to get that same kind of food and get the same kind of intake and all that stuff. Finding gyms easy, being at shows is easy, being on the road traveling through the night is easy. You just learn to be efficient and accustomed to whatever you do. So that's probably my hardest thing because I'm a huge Tim Hortons and McDonald's fan. I love McDonald's, so if I don't watch it, I'll be at McDonald's every night, and I don't want to do that.
I think a lot of us would, because like being when you're traveling, it's so much more convenient to grab fast food than like
Yeah.
prepping something.
Most definitely, yeah.
Now, in the locker room, would you say respect is the most important? You hear stories about like Truth Martinez saying like the way they were taught, if a veteran walks in, there's nowhere to sit, and you would like stand up and offer your seat. Do you feel respect is always like the highest priority, and sometimes that gets lost when the newer generation comes in?
But that's yes, but that's I think that's in every area. I think that's a respect thing isn't just it's learning to be outside of yourself, and like a lot of times in a lot of different areas of life, you become very accustomed to just being inward and just thinking about yourself. Whereas, like in any aspect of life, like any sports, any kind of job, anything in life itself, like you should give the person that's been here longer and has walked a few more miles than you should show them a decent amount of respect unless they do something to tarnish that respect level, right? So there's guys out there that don't deserve anything, don't deserve anything from even shaking your hand. They don't deserve it. But and those things, those wrestling, it's a taught thing. So you learn as you go, and either you've been taught and told how to perform or how to act and how to behave, or somebody smartened you up really soon. And only the ones that are uh, whine and complain about like how they're treated and mistreated by these veterans, that either they melt and go away or they become accustomed to how we are. It's not that hard. We all do it. They think that they're the first ones. If you think you're the first one, you're not. You're just in a long line of the rest of us that had to learn either the hard way or the easy way.
All right. There is one question I've been meaning to ask because obviously we're both big wrestling fans. What would you say makes a promo different from anybody else's? So, what would you say are your 5 key bits for cutting a decent promo?
So for a promo for me, it's first, always, without question, you always start with who you are. Because you should always assume that nobody knows who you are. Even though you think you're the biggest star in the world, you should always come at the point that nobody knows who you are. It's always somebody new. So you always introduce yourself. So basically, that's your first point, is always getting yourself over. Always, you don't want to always yell and scream. You don't have to. You should have them biting on every word, and that's always like the Jake Roberts of starting slow, starting soft, so they concentrate and you don't talk over them. You talk under, so that, and then they have to listen. They listen to what you say, and you can elevate as you go along. Another thing is, you don't want to ramble on. You want to get to your point and make your point. Whatever the goal is in this, you want to make sure that you have it. So
Yeah.
who I'm wrestling, where I'm wrestling, whatever. You don't want to be too cliche. You don't want to do what everybody else is doing. You don't want to rant and rave. And when the smoke clears and the dust settles, you don't want to do the same lines as everybody else. You kind of want to be unique. But the big goal is, you got to be true to who you are. That's the biggest one. And
Yeah.
you have to speak with a little bit of reality. It has to become from somewhere in your soul. You have to believe in what you're saying, even if it is a work, even if it's something that either is scripted. That's why these promos nowadays don't work, because they give them pages to memorize. It's the same as having a match and then having it all pre-planned. Every step is pre-planned and thought out. Then those make for crappy matches, because then guys don't sell. They think about what's coming up next. Same as promos. So if you're thinking about promos, you're not thinking about what it entails in your being. You're trying to think of the next words that go along with it. So that's one of those areas that needs to, those are the things you like. That's the main thing. It's got to come from a place of reality, and you got to speak from your, just words out of your mouth, basically.
Tyson, when wrestling returns, if fans want to watch you, which promotions can they find you in currently when you come back?
This is a crazy question, because I honestly don't know. I know that sounds kind of dramatic, but it's not supposed to be. I just don't know. I don't know who's left. I don't know where we go from here. I don't know, if if Smash is, if they're good to go when they get up, because I don't know. I don't know. Like, everybody's taking such a hit, and everybody, that wants to move on and move forward and push into their promotions. Like, I hope that everything comes back, even for promotions that I don't work for. I hope that, because that means guys have places to work and money's to be made. But I'm honestly, I could not tell you. I could not tell you who's going to be back or where I'll be. I All I'm looking forward to is the day that they say that we can pile in a rec center or arena or whatever, and then just get back to what I love to do. The only one that I would say is right now is, I would love to. I know that I will be back, because it's still ready to go, is FLQ for me and Nick Aldis. That's in Montreal, and the other one would be WXW in Germany, and PCW in England. Um, those are the only places that I could think of that that I know that will be around when I'm back, and so hopefully I'll be there. That's it. That's Honestly, that sounds so dark and terrible, and dramatic, but it's not supposed to be. It's just the way it is.
It's just the
If it,
reality we live in. That's all it is.
Honest to God, it's the reality that we live in. And I know it sounds silly, but I don't even know. I really don't know.
if fans would like to get a hold of you, Tyson, what social media apps can they get you on?
All of them. So all you have to do, if you want to find me, I've made this so simple and so easy. It's always at Tyson Dux. So Tyson Dux, like the old movie. Um, Look it up. So it's all just Tyson Dux. So anywhere you go, and then if you click on whatever social media account, it will just give you a plethora of other stuff, from my clothing line to my wrestling school to all this stuff that I got on the go. I got so much on the go because I get bored during sitting at home. So I've done a lot of stuff. But if you just click on it, it'll take you anywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Now I just started TikTok, which is I'm way too old for that nonsense. But like I'm everywhere, and that's because of that. Facebook, anything. Yep.
Got him on Twitter.
There you go. See, that's what I'm talking about. Just like that.
That easy.
Thank you
Maddie.
for joining us, Tyson. It was amazing having you, and you'll always be my favorite wrestler.
Well, thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure to be with you guys, and I hope I didn't talk too much.
Oh no,
No.
we loved it. It was such an awesome experience.
If anything, you didn't talk enough.
Oh well, there we go. Wow, don't say that.
I'm sure I can speak for Fraser myself when I say we'd love to have you on again if you'll have us, because I'm sure you've got more stories to tell. So, Leadster, do you want to finish off there?
This has been another episode of Bodyslams and Dropkicks, and make sure you watch for Tyson Dux, because whether it's grappling, whether he's hitting you over the top rope, you can't beat Tyson Dux!
See, that's the way I like to go out, boys. That's the way I like to sign out. Thank you very much.